Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news from the WordPress community. Now, welcome your hosts, David Wormsley and Nathan Wrigley.
Hello there and welcome to the WP Builds podcast. This is episode number 181, entitled How to Visually Build Your WordPress Translations with TranslatePress. It was published on Thursday the 28th of May 2020. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and just a few bits of housekeeping before you begin. If you wouldn't mind going over to the WP Builds podcast website, over there you'll find everything that we do. We're a largely WordPress-specific content creation network. Crikey, that sounds very grand. But we produce a whole bunch of content each week, all in the WordPress space. As an example, you're about to listen to the podcast. We do this every Thursday. On a Monday, I produce the weekly WordPress news, where I try to sum up in audio form. It's about 25 minutes long. A summation of the previous week's WordPress news. That comes out at 7 a.m. on a Monday, and then at 2 p.m. UK time in our Facebook group and also on our live page, you'll be able to find the weekly WordPress news live, where I have some notable WordPress guests on, and we enjoy having all of your comments, so do bookmark that if you can. If you also head over to our subscribe page, that's wpbuilds.com/subscribe, you'll be able to find out when we produce content, as well as get yourself onto an email list to find out when WordPress deals are pushed live. I send those out as soon as I hear about them, and I try not to keep your inbox too busy. I only send them out fairly infrequently. Another option on that page is to sign up on your favourite podcast player. Join our favourite Facebook group, the WP Builds Facebook group, a very polite community of about 2,500 WordPressers. And also there's links to various other things like our YouTube channel and so on. Another page would be wpbuilds.com/deals. This is a page where product creators in the WordPress space, so that's themes and plugins and so on, have given us permanent codes that you can use to purchase their products. They never run out. They're there 365 days of the year, and so I often describe it as Black Friday, but every day of the week. So that's wpbuilds.com/deals. And the last one I want to mention is wpbuilds.com/advertise. If you would like to put your product or service in front of a WordPress specific audience, well, we can certainly help you with that. And this week, we're helping A/B split test. Want to set up your A/B split test in record time, like in a couple of minutes? Use your existing pages and test anything against anything else. Buttons, images, headers, rows, anything. And the best part is that it works with Elementor, Beaver Builder, and the WordPress block editor. So you can go and check it out now at absplittest.com. And we do thank the AB Split Test guys for helping us put on the WP Builds podcast. Speaking of the podcast, this week we have a really interesting one. This week I am joined by Adrian Spiac, and we talk about, well, he's the co-founder of a plugin called TranslatePress. Now, you may have found the need in the past to translate your website into multiple languages, and you've probably found a solution out there, but I venture to say that nothing will be quite like the TranslatePress plugin. It's a little bit like a page builder in that it's very visual. You find something on the page that you would like to translate. You simply click it, use the menu on the left-hand side and add your translations. You want Japanese, you want French, you want German. It's all in the left-hand side panel. It's really, really straightforward to use. So we find out today why he built it, how it works, as well as a whole bunch of premium add-ons that you can throw in as well for all of your translation needs. So, without further ado, I hope that you enjoy this week's podcast. Hello there, thank you for getting this far, making it to the interview part of the WP Builds podcast. Today I'm joined by Adrian Spiac. I hope I got that right.
Wow, you got it perfect. Hello, Nathan, and thank you for having me.
So you're very welcome. We had a little bit of coaching before I actually clicked record there. Adrian's joining us today because, as we'll find out later, he and his team have got a fantastic product called TranslatePress. But we'll do some other chat before that, just to sort of like familiarise ourselves with Adrian and the organisation that he works for and his history and so on. So if it's all right with you, Adrian, I wouldn't mind beginning there. obviously you're in the WordPress space. You're on a WordPress-related podcast. What's your background with WordPress? Have you been using WordPress since the year dot?
I think my journey with WordPress started around a decade ago when I first teamed up with one of my co-founders, Christian, and we started like building websites. And WordPress was really easy to use. It was emerging due to its user friendliness and growing community. So we got into that and sort of never looked back.
Yeah, how long ago was that?
I think 10 years, maybe 11 years, 2008, 2009, beginning 2009.
Yeah, nice long time ago. So you're sort of steeped in it. Were you doing things with technology prior to that? Have you got a history of working with computers and building software and so on?
Yes, we were both into computers, coding, graduated from technical universities. So even prior to that, we played with technologies like PHP or HTML, a little bit of JavaScript, things like that.
Okay. So you've got two kind of main arms, I suppose, in the WordPress space. You've got two particularly notable products. One not so much a product, more of a kind of like an amalgamation of different things. We've got Cosmo Labs, which you can find at Cosmo with a Z, molabs.com, and we've also got TranslatePress as well. Just wondering if we could spend a couple of minutes. I know we hadn't necessarily scheduled to talk about this, but it might be nice to have a quick talk about Cosmo Labs. What is it that you're doing over there? What have you collected together?
Yeah, now that I think about it, I think the domain name Cosmos Labs was definitely taken, so we made a twist and bought Cosmos Labs. And so with Cosmos Labs, it started as a blog where we wrote things WordPress related. So when we first started, we started as a web development agency focusing on WordPress. And Cosmos Labs was the blog where we started writing, things we've learned, problems we had, and so on. And that's also where the place that helped us launch our first product, which is called Profile Builder, which is basically an all-in-one user registration and profile plugin where using it, you can easily create custom user forms, add custom fields, list your users, and so on. And why I'm saying that the blog helped us, because I think my colleague Christian wrote a post regarding the limitation of the user registration in WordPress, the default user registration, everything was backend. You could not collect any additional user data. And that post, I think, was the most popular blog post on our blog for a year and something. And due to that, and got a lot of comments. So due to that, we decided to take action and build something. So we built Profile Builder, which was our initial product. And it was also the one which helped us make the transition from a web development agency, like from services to focusing solely on building WordPress products.
Right. So Profile Builder Pro, is it still going strong, or has
WordPress
it's itself kind of
up to this date? It's our bestseller for Cosmos Labs. TranslatePress, I think we'll get into that later, but has even more potential.
Yeah. And then you've got a couple of others. You've got paid membership. Sorry, I made a real hash of that. Paid member subscriptions, and you've also got the WordPress creation kit. Do you want to just briefly tell us what they are as well?
Yeah. So paid member subscriptions was built out of several user feedback we received from Profile Builder users. They all wanted a simple way to create paid user profiles, like allowing users to pay for their profiles. And instead of building an add-on or building something strictly for Profile Builder, we decided why not build a membership plugin altogether, was already a super crowded space and competitive space, but our take on it was, let's build something super simple and intuitive that looks exactly like the WordPress interface, nothing fancy, nothing, and people can use it and set it up really quickly. So that's how paid member subscription was born, and it's fully compatible with Profile Builder. A lot of people use them together, but also paid member subscription now is a standalone membership plugin, which powers, I think, around more than 10,000 websites, active websites or so.
Wow, the numbers in WordPress are just astonishing, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Crazy
That's one of the beauties.
Yeah, true. Well, that's why I suppose we're all here in a way. And then, okay, let's change tack then, because one of the reasons that we ended up speaking and getting you on the podcast was because of this fabulous multilingual, I don't know what the right word is, but it's a translation plugin. I don't know if the word multilingual is the exact word to use here, but it's a plugin which enables you to, let's say, for example, like me, you are building a website and it's in English and you wish to have portions of that site to be translated, for example, into French. That's what TranslatePress does. Now you're coming into a crowded arena here. We've got a whole tranche of rival plugins that are been around for many years and probably got lots and lots of users who are familiar with them. What is it that you felt made TranslatePress worthy of creating and spending so much time on?
Yeah, Nathan, you are absolutely right. There are a lot of options, not just for translation, for pretty much everything in the WordPress space nowadays. But our take with TranslatePress was to build something that's uniquely, really different and extremely intuitive and easy to use. We wanted to target people who have no coding skills, who don't want to learn or read a lot of documentation to be able to set up a multilingual website. And I think you gave it an excellent description in one of your tweets. It's basically a page builder for translations. So everything in TranslatePress happens visually. You translate your website directly from the front end using a visual translation interface. You can browse it page by page and pretty much translate everything you see.
Yeah, there's if you go to the website, which is glad that you could get this URL because it's exactly what you needed, translatepress.com. There's a video right at the very top of the page, and it's about three and a half minutes long, and it's Adrian explaining and showing how it all works, and that kind of encapsulates what we're going to talk about. So it may be a good idea if you're near a computer, maybe go and pause, go to translatepress.com, watch the video, and then come back and you have much more insight into what we're going to describe because it's very visual. But essentially, you've got it's like a customizer type interface. So it'll be familiar for people who use a page builder as well. There's an admin bar, if you like, where the work goes on is a bar down the left-hand side of the page, and you simply find a bit of text on the page that you would like to translate, click on it, and then type the translation and then click publish and you're done. Now, I for the life of me can't understand why this hasn't happened so far. It's a great breakthrough. It makes the whole process ridiculously easy. How difficult was it to create this? Were there a lot of problems that you didn't foresee? Has it been straightforward, or have you been tearing your hair out trying to make this all work?
It definitely wasn't straightforward, and yes, there were some problems we did not foresee, as always. But I think the main thing we were trying to solve, there are two pain points with translation plugins nowadays. One is the compatibility. Users always have to make sure, is my team compatible with the translation plugin? What happens if I use a page builder? What happens if I use a shortcode? How do I translate the output of a shortcode? What happens if I set up a WooCommerce store? Can I translate all my products or details or variations or things like that? And this is a big pain. So with TranslatePress, we wanted to make sure this disappears. And we worked hard to make it out of the box compatible with any theme, plugin, page builder. So it doesn't matter how you created your content. What matters is that whatever is displayed on the front end, it's translatable. We even took it like a step further. Like, let's say you have media, like for example, an image with text, which obviously in a different language you would want to change it with a different image with translated text.
Yeah.
So you can do that exactly the same way as you translate text. You just click on the image, you will see an option to upload a different one for a different language, and also translate the alt tag and so on.
Okay. So intriguingly, the way that WordPress works, the content can be coming from all sorts of different places. It may have been pushed in by a page builder, for example. It might be coming in from a widget, or it might be a shortcode, or there's just multiple different ways that content could have arrived on the page. But you're saying that TranslatePress can cope with any of that scenario. So that, I suppose, that leads to the sort of slightly technical question. How does it actually work? How is it locating the portion that needs to be translated and then somehow storing that data away somewhere and making sure that data is replaced with different data?
Well, the technical details are basically we're waiting for all the page to load, for all the content to load, and then we're adding the translation layer. That's pretty much it. The details of it are can get quite complicated, but in the end. Yeah, because it's pretty tricky to work with things like, for example, sliders, which we support. Like, you can easily translate sliders or pop-ups. You can also translate pop-ups once they appear, or things like that. But it's JavaScript in the end, and we're parsing everything on all the text in the document on a page, and then making sure it's all translatable.
So when you spoke about images, I suppose that will pique people's interest. You're clearly not saying that if there is, I mean, goodness knows, somebody's going to think it. If there's text in the image, you're not modifying the image. You're just saying, look, here's a different image for the Spanish page. Here's a different image for the Italian page, right? And you have to make those yourself.
Yes, obviously, exactly.
Somebody somewhere will think that you've created the most miraculous tool that can identify text.
No, we're not that good yet.
So when you are in this page and you're in the sort of like TranslatePress editing mode, if you like, you simply find things, you click on them and what have you, and then this panel appears on the left hand side, and it says, here's the English translation, here's the French translation, here's the Italian translation. Can you do an infinite number of translations? Can you just literally stack them on top of one or another? Do you have to have language skills to do this? So, for example, in my case, I'd suffer greatly. Or can this be automated in some way?
Yes, it can. So TranslatePress supports both manual and automatic translations. We have an integration with Google Translate, also DeepL. It's a really high quality automated translation service. And basically, you can set it all up and have your website automatically translated in under a minute, and then just, instantly. I'm saying under a minute just because it sounds cool, but this happens instantly. Like, once you enter your API key and click Save Changes, once you navigate the website, the translation basically happens the first time you load the page.
Right.
And we're also making sure to store this translation in order to increase speed. And our recommendation is to, once you have your site automatically translated, go and manually edit everything that sounds weird or off, or does it have context?
Yeah. And how do you do that then? Is there a way that you can, so let's say, for example, that I go to the web page and it was in English and I'm now looking at the French version. Presumably there's some sort of like little flag icon or some little icon that you'd click to translate the page. And then can I go in and just, in the way that I described a moment ago, can I go in and everything will now be in Italian, so I can just edit those one at a time? I don't have to sort of go back to the beginning and start with the English and then go through the Italian bits one by one.
No, you don't. Yes, you can do that.
Okay, so that's handy.
Mesh.
Yeah, and
yes.
how is there like a cost to be borne for the instant translation? So, for example, you said that it's instantaneous. Presumably, that those strings of text are being fired off to some remarkable engine somewhere, which is then quickly translating them and sending them back again. I'm guessing that's not a free thing, or maybe it is.
No, that's. I mean, translating it depends on the service you're using. Google has a limit, I think, up to 500,000 characters. It's free. So you get a good start. After that, I think you pay $20 per million characters or something like that, which is quite enough for a decent sized website.
Okay.
However, we're looking to mainstream this process. So when using a premium version of TranslatePress, we are looking to do this automatically for you and not make you use a different service, create an API key, and have to pay some extra costs. So we will probably integrate this in the close future.
Oh, okay. So you'll acquire the plugin somehow, license it with you guys, and then you'll take on the burden of like financing that part of it, if you like.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that makes sense. One thing
because it removes some friction from all this. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You know, the less that you've got to do yourself, the better it is, really. One thing that just suddenly occurred to me is we all spend, well, some of us do, spend quite a bit of time making sure that things which are not seen on the page, so for example, all the metadata and the SEO stuff, let's call it that, SEO for want of a better word, that all of that is taken care of. Does that also come along for the ride? Can we change all of that on a page by page basis into our preferred languages as well?
Yeah, so in the sidebar, which looks like the visual translation interface looks a little bit like the customizer. We wanted to use a very similar look just to make people feel comfortable, with it, not to create something completely new. Mm-hmm. And we have a string list, so there you can also find all the metadata. You can find, you can easily translate things like slugs or page title or description or so on, all the important SEO elements. So yes, the answer is yes. TranslatePress is SEO friendly, and you can translate everything SEO related. It's also integrated with we have an SEO Pack add-on, which basically allows you to go further. Like, let's say you're using Yoast, you can also translate the focus keywords. You can translate the meta description. You can create multilingual sitemaps using the sitemap functionality in Yoast, and so on.
We were talking when I was describing it, I kind of described it as a page builder for translations, which seems to fit nicely. And obviously, page builders very much of the moment. Everybody seems to be enjoying them and realizing the benefits of them. I'm just wondering though, and we'll get onto the wider Gutenberg thing in a moment, but I'm just wondering whether or not, let's say for example, in my case, when I write a blog post, I'm doing that in the text editor. So it's not really a page, it's a post, but I'm doing it all in the text editor, and it's paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, block after block after block, and so that's kind of divorced from the TranslatePress user interface. Do you have ways of translating in the old-fashioned, the classic editor, if you like, or the Gutenberg block editor as well?
Yeah, we didn't look to go too much in that area. I think the forte of TranslatePress is the visual translation interface. So basically, it gives you context. You know exactly where a string is located. You don't have to assume anything. And also this makes it really easy for people just not very familiar with the different areas of WordPress to say this.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because maybe the job of translating is going to be handed over to somebody else, and they might have zero skills with using a CMS or WordPress in this case, and so the ability to just point, click, edit, click save.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we have a feature, for example, translator accounts, where you can easily create a user and just assign him as a translator without giving him admin rights to the website and so on.
Okay.
And he basically logs in, and then in the front end, he could help you translate all your website without giving him any access to the back end, to the WordPress dashboard. So I think this is really handy. Now, to answer your question, we also have things like shortcodes. For example, if you want to translate certain bits, or I don't know, have a different type of text in a different language, we have a thing called a conditional shortcode based on language, which you can use inside a block editor or inside a text editor or so on. To conditionally display different elements or text.
Yeah, I get it. Does the plugin offer the sort of feature for kind of like geolocating you? So let's say, for example, I picked up my computer and went on holiday to Italy. Lucky me. And I switched on, a TranslatePress configured site. Does it know about that? And can it supply the Italian automatically, or do I have to go through the process of sort of picking my language manually?
No, I mean it does. We have we have an add-on for that. It's called Automatic User Language Detection, and you basically just activate it, and that's it.
Yeah,
it will take care of this. It will redirect you to the language you speak based on IP or browser language.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it has a really smart logic behind it.
Okay. And okay, so I can see that you've got a very comprehensive free version with a whole raft of things in it. Some notable things which I think might interest people are that you can translate the sort of entire page in this page builder format. It supports WooCommerce, which might be of great interest to a lot of you. There's a whole ton in the free version. Presumably that's on the WordPress repository, is it?
Yes, it's on a WordPress repository.
Okay, so you can go search for that. But you've also got a sort of like a premium tier, and you've got these advanced add-ons and pro add-ons and so on. So maybe if we just get into the pricing and what those different pricing models enable you to do. So I'll just quickly run by what the tiers are. So we've got personal, which is €79. It's all priced in euros. That's for one site. You've got business, which is 139, which is for 3 sites, and you've got developer, which is 199 for unlimited sites. But there's a sort of different configuration. So do you want to just run through what you will get with those different tiers and what some of those different add-ons will enable you to do?
Yes, absolutely. So the free version, you can use it to translate everything on your website. It works out of the box with any theme, plugin, WooCommerce, page builders. The only limitation is that it's limited to 2 translation languages. So if you want more than that, the personal version of TranslatePress has if you want to add, I don't know, 5 translation languages or basically an unlimited number, you find that in the personal or the premium versions. We also have the SEO Pack we discussed about, which has integrations with SEO plugins, allowing you to translate things like page titles, slug translations, and so on, like Yoast SEO sitemap support. And then some really cool add-ons are found in the other versions. You have navigation based on language. You can customize your menu, for example, to have different menu structures based on the language the user browses. You have automatic user language detection. You have translator accounts if you want to allow existing users to translate, your site, or hire a professional translator to translate your site without giving him admin rights. Yep. And things like DeepL support for automatic translation. All these are found in the developer and business packs.
Okay, so there's absolutely tons. There's loads and loads of nice additions. So there's one which had caught my eye as well, that browse as a user role, so you can actually look at how it would. So you can change it based upon the role of the person logged in, can you, as well?
Exactly. Let's say you have some restricted content, or you have a form that's available only for a certain user role. In order to translate it, you have to see it. So you can easily use this browse as user role to display absolutely everything that's visible to that certain user role.
Yeah. So the user interface is absolutely fantastic. I really like it, and no doubt this is becoming more and more popular over time. How is it going? Is it justifying itself in terms of a business at the minute?
Yes, it's growing nicely. It currently powers more than 50,000 websites. If you look at WordPress.org, I think in the last year it went like from 20,000 to 50,000, and I know I see more and more people noticing it, using it, saying they simply get it. It doesn't need a lot of introduction or a description on how to use it.
Yes.
Once you install it and click Translate Site, you'll instantly understand how easy it is to modify and translate a certain piece of text.
Yeah, in a sense, the fact that you were later to the market than some of the other plugins kind of afforded you a certain benefit in that you got in after the sort of visual point-click page builder interface was a thing. And so I think in that sense, the fact that you've built it after that has become quite a normal procedure, building pages with point, click, drag, type, what have you. You've been able to do that, which is nice.
Yes. I mean, I think that if you want to build something, it needs to be or either different or better or both. Otherwise, the competition being so fierce in the WordPress, plugin space or product page, it's really hard to get noticed and get people to use your product.
Yeah,
I'm not saying TranslatePress is super popular, but I think it has a lot of potential, and more people are using it, and it has a really nice growth. So we are very comfortable with the perspectives.
One of the things that I like to ask is about support and what have you, because that's one of the things that people they find interesting once they've bought a product. Do you offer kind of support via like chat, or are you all via email, or do you have an area where you can log in and submit support tickets and what have you?
Yeah, we offer email support. Okay. We don't do chat or phone support. We found this to work with our style of work, and also maybe write more detailed and helpful answers.
Yeah.
So we prefer this, to offer all the premium versions come with priority in premium support. However, we will visit the WordPress.org forums and answer there as well. So we're not completely ignore those people who have may bump into certain issues.
Are there any areas, probably a difficult question for you to answer because nobody likes to admit that some things don't work, but are there any kind of problems that you've run into where it was, TranslatePress, it found it insurmountable, it was unable to do the translation, quirky themes that misbehaved or some bizarre, I don't know, collection of plugins that meant that it just failed?
Yeah, no, I have no problem answering this question.
Oh, good.
So, for example, if you have completely different type of content for each language, then probably TranslatePress is not the best solution for you. You should look more into setting up a multi-site or going with plugins like Multilingual Press, for example. If you want to set, for example, a WooCommerce store which has completely different pages and products in different languages, which is basically a different website in a different language, if you know what I mean, then TranslatePress is not the right plugin for you.
Okay.
I think.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No worries. No. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
There are some conflicts with certain themes, mostly because they do not follow WordPress standards. Mm-hmm. But we're trying to fix and everything in order to have full compatibility with everything. This is a big thing we embarked on and tried to offer. Just working out of the box with any theme or plugin, that's a huge statement. And to back it up, you have to work a lot on the things you mentioned before. It doesn't work with a certain theme, which is not popular, but so then you have to think to have a more general approach to it, not fix that specific issue, but like thinking in a bigger way on how can you prevent this from happening in the future. And that can be pretty challenging at times.
Speaking of the future, that was a nice segue. Speaking of the future, if you've been paying close attention to, I don't mean you, I'm directing this at our listeners now. If you've been paying close attention to the roadmap for the block editor, otherwise known as Gutenberg, then it's going to be sort of rolling out in 4 different stages, and we're kind of onto the second stage now, which is kind of customization of the site. So, for example, headers and footers, that kind of thing. And one of the stages in the future, several years away by all accounts, and certainly not being undertaken at all at the moment, is native integration with multilingual capabilities. Now, does this bother you? Are you troubled? Are you thinking this is going to cause you problems, or are you more looking forward to it and seeing where TranslatePress can fit into that ecosystem?
Yes, in a sense, I am looking forward to it because I think it's a good thing for WordPress users, and I'm really eager to find out more. I know this is just an idea now; it's not materialized into anything. There are some concepts going around, but I think there will always be a way that you can make your users' life easier. So I'm just Gutenberg can also be seen, as a threat into page builders, for example. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
It probably will at some point, but I think they will adapt as well. So I don't think, and all of this is in the benefit of the end user, which is great.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
Another example I would give would be with custom fields, like when native custom fields support was added in WordPress. I think a super popular plugin like Advanced Custom Fields. People were concerned that what would happen, would it disappear? And I think this was many years ago, and now Advanced Custom Field is still more powerful than ever. So I don't know. I'm not very concerned with this. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how this turns out, and maybe we can contribute to it. So this is something I would love to give our input on.
Yeah, it's interesting. The world and WordPress in particular has a sort of habit of delivering up unexpected things, and it may be that this is absolutely the best thing that ever happened for TranslatePress. Primarily, just the fact that it's on everybody's radar for a start. There's multilingual features. Oh, I should be making use of those, and then they may very well discover yourself and some rivals along the way. So yeah, absolutely fascinating product. I will just quickly mention the URL once more. It's translatepress.com. Before we go, Adrian, I've got an interesting question to ask you, because I share these show notes with our guests, and they write things in. I'm fascinated by something that you wrote, and it's got nothing to do with translations, but it's got to do with work-life balance, because in the show notes you wrote about the fact that you've made a decision as a company to just work for 4 days in each week. How's that going?
Well, to put it simple, it all started like 6 years ago, and we never looked back. So I guess it was a good decision.
Yeah.
It has its challenges, but it allows us to get more like press, to spend more time with our families, to have a really, really sane balance, like work-life balance. I think it was one of the best decisions we took. Our employees, our colleagues brag, around it. I'm not working Friday, so this is also a good selling point for you as a company. Yeah. And the extra day give you more time to rest and think about things. As a co-founder, for me, it's super useful. Like Friday, I either spend time with my family or have time to think. We're so drawn into the day-to-day activities that setting aside time to just think or do nothing is gone. It's something no one does anymore, and we all should.
It's really commendable. I think it's such a fabulous idea. I wish I could get myself around to that way of thinking. I just saw it, and it just stood out on the page. I just thought that's lovely.
What you could do as an experiment is just try, ending Friday a little bit earlier, like around noon, and see how that goes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a try. I'll let you know.
Please do.
Yeah. Thank you for having us on. Now, we haven't really discussed this too much in detail, but Adrian was mentioning the fact that around the release of the podcast, we may very well put a deal or a giveaway or something along those lines out. So keep your ears peeled for that. But yeah, Adrian Spiac, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today and telling us about TranslatePress.
Thank you again, Nathan. The naming was perfect again. You nailed it.
Thanks a lot.
I had a great time. Thank you.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed that. It was certainly fascinating chatting to Adrian about the TranslatePress plugin. Looks really interesting. You can get a whole lot more information about it by going to the TranslatePress website. Click on the link in the show notes and it'll take you right there. You'll be able to see just how easy it is and how you can get yourself onto the premium tier if that takes your fancy. The WP Builds podcast was brought to you today by A/B Split Test. Want to set up your A/B split test in record time? The new A/B split test plugin for WordPress will have you up and running in a couple of minutes. Use your existing pages and test anything against anything else. Buttons, images, headers, rows, anything really. And the best part is that it works with Elementor, Beaver Builder, and the WordPress block editor. So, what are you waiting for? Go and check it out at absplittest.com. And we thank them for helping us put on the WP Builds podcast this week. Maybe you'll join us next week. We'll have a podcast next Thursday. It's likely to be a debate between David Wormsley and I, because that's the way we do it. A week of an interview and then a week of David and I debating. So join us for that. Also, what about Monday? Join us on Monday for the weekly WordPress news and the live that I mentioned at the top of the show. You can find those each and every week at wpbuilds.com/live, 2 p.m. UK time. I hope that you have a very safe week, and I will fade in some cheesy music and say bye-bye for now.